Good evening Internet, and welcome to Top Shift 111. As you can see, I am flying in the ASP at the moment, and I am catching up with the plot by visiting all the abandoned bases which have appeared over the last couple of releases. But that's not the main news which has been hitting the forums. Frontier showed off the new exploration mechanics, which will be part of the Beyond Update Chapter 4. The beta, of course, will start at the end of October, beginning of November. Now, there were a couple of caveats that I had with the proposed new exploration mechanics, but thankfully the demo has gone and reassured me quite a bit. The first caveat, of course, I had was, as you explore in Elite Dangerous at the moment, what you can do is you basically honk, or as they prefer to call it, fire off an energy pulse, and it will show you a quick visual representation of the system, and then you make the decision of whether or not to fly in to the appropriate bits. Well, the honk has been kind of modified, so you still get the stars, but what you get instead is a representation of what's in the system in a graph form. Now, it should mean that all I have to do is relearn which planet is which squiggle on the above spectral analysis, and I should be just as fast as I am in evaluating whether I want to investigate a system further than not. So that's really reassured me as far as the exploration initial mechanics are concerned. I did have one other concern about the probes, which will be used to handle the mapping of a planet.
Shall I move the ship into orbit?
That's a negative.
So, but apparently they're not going to restrict the number of probes that we can carry, which I'm quite happy about, because there was an issue about having to synthesize new probes, which of course would mean new materials, so explorers would have to carry either a mining laser, if they didn't have horizons, or at least carry an SRV. Personally, my explorer vessels normally carry an SRV anyway, but that's by and by. We're thinking about players that don't want to carry these things or have not shelled out for horizons. But the probe mechanic itself looked really good, very similar, I thought, to the mechanics in Mass Effect 2 for exploring planets. Excuse me while we're driving around this base. But in overall, they demonstrated it quite well. They also showed off the Codex. The Codex, to me, is basically fleshes out what's already there. Normally you find there's a whole load of background information that's been missing that you can only find in the books and you can only find in the RPGs. Of course, if you want to find out the most in-depth one would be the Elite Encounters RPG, but all this will now be condensed in game, so there's an awful lot of stuff that you can will be able to look up without having to go out of the game for once. Plus also you're able to log where and what you've done, which I think really just adds, it's something that's a small thing, but it will have a big effect. In order to fit all this stuff in, it has also meant that the UI in the HUD has been changed. Oh dear, I seem to be stuck. The UI in the HUD has been changed a little, which I think they've done a good job in basically making things a little bit more user-friendly. The issue that I've had in the past is that the GUI has got a little bit, well, cluttered. And giving it a good pass as part of this release, I think, has been a very, very unexpected but good change. So we've got, I mean, the exploration mechanics seem to be quite good. There also was something dropped in the press which they didn't talk about new missions or scenarios which will be coming as part of the background simulation. Well, that's going to be interesting to see. Obviously we'll get more information next week when they demonstrate that, and of course I'll be doing a reaction video to that as well. So overall, my impressions of the demonstration was it was quite nice. it actually made a lot of people excited. There was the usual call for space legs and a lot of people, the usual detraction about this isn't proper gameplay, etc, etc. Personally, I think those accusations are a little unfair, but I did think that this will be a good contribution to the game. It certainly will make exploration a little bit more interesting. But of course, one of the big surprises which nobody had a clue about was the orrery map. Now, this is something that has been called out for quite a while.
Production is currently at 91%. The specifications for these new weapons are unique, so it's only natural we'd have teething problems when calibrating our machinery.
Yeah, the orrery map was astounding to look at, and it you didn't think you needed it until you saw it, which was good.
Production is currently at 91%. The specifications for these new weapons are unique, so it's only natural we'd have teething problems when calibrating our machinery. Normally, head office would be sticking their oar in, but they've been conspicuous in their silence. Could be something to do with the fact that Aegis has given us the blueprints to the most sophisticated weaponry in the galaxy. The corporation's set to make a fortune when these prototypes go to mass production. Of course, we're also proud to be safeguarding the galaxy from a Thargoid threat. And it helps that Aegis is paying us a fortune for the privilege.
The other thing about the Codex is that it's all voice acted, like this, and it's all up to this standard.
Today we had the royal visit. Spot check from the man at Aegis. He walked in, black-suited and slick-haired, hulking bodyguards like he was the president of the Federation or something. I'm not gonna lie, I was bloody intimidated, especially since I was the one giving him the guided tour. He introduced himself as Mr. Black. I'm fairly sure that wasn't his real name, but I wasn't gonna question it. He walked around the plant for about an hour and he didn't say a word. I was expecting the worst, but he just thanked me for the tour, told me to keep up the good work and left. Keep up the good work. I'm taking that as a win.
And the final entry is...
A warning message came in on an encrypted channel. It was Mr. Black himself. I'd recognise that voice anyway. He said the facility would be coming under attack imminently and we had to evacuate at once. He was sparse on details, but he was pretty convincing. I've told the floor supervisors to initiate evacuation protocols, but I can't leave yet. There's simply too much confidential material here. It has to be destroyed. I tried to contact head office for further instruction, but I couldn't get through. I hope I'm doing the right thing.
Again, I am absolutely loving the atmosphere of these bases.
The attack came. It wasn't raided. It was a Thargoid ship. It popped up on the scanners and set about destroying the facility. When it hit the main plant, I thought it was the end, but then Federal ships arrived. Don't know where they came from. Maybe he just sent them. Oh, thank God I managed to evacuate everyone in time. Death toll could have been catastrophic. As it stands, we lost a few billion credits in machinery, but I'll let the bean counters worry about that. I'm just glad no one was hurt.
So a kind of happy ending for this one, which is unusual. So that's it for the moment. I'm looking forward to see what Frontier produce for the next part of the beta. If you like what you've seen here, give us a like and subscribe, and thank you for joining me, and I'll hopefully see everyone at Live Radio on Tuesday. Good night.